I'm Richard Pyatt. Welcome back to another Little Blinking Light podcast. There's a little thing called AI, and that's what we're going to talk about today with Roger Verworn at AE Tech Design. Welcome back, Roger.
Thanks, Richard. I appreciate it.
Artificial intelligence, just a little thing that seems to be happening fast. I think I saw an interview with someone of prominence, I wish I could remember who now, recently, who said, I think it was Bill Gates, actually, who said, this is moving faster than even we anticipated.
It is. They talk about certain things. You know, there was the industrial age, and then it became the information age.
Right.
And it appears that this may be the next age, the age of artificial intelligence. So.
All right. Well, today we're going to talk about 3 ways it's helping and hurting your business. And I think we'll sort of juxtapose these next to each other, and then we'll all try to spin around all of that and make sense of it, which is what everybody's trying to do. But let's start on the help column at least.
Yeah.
One way it's helping is monitoring the IT environment. How is that helping?
You know, one of the things that happens when you have a good cybersecurity practice going on is every device in your network is being monitored for any sign of malicious activity. And that goes into something called a SIEM, which is a security information event monitoring platform. That platform is bringing in all of this raw data, just everything that's happening, good, bad, or otherwise. Mm-hmm. It's having to pull it all in there. And you can create some rules that are kind of manual that then, if you, again, have a good cybersecurity practice, you have somebody monitoring 24/7 by 365, and that's called a SOC, which is a Security Operations Center. So you have this SOC that's monitoring this, and because of that, you have actual individuals that if something doesn't feel or look right, there's an actual human that's looking at it, which is great and fantastic. Unfortunately, they're not looking at the raw streams of data. They couldn't. You know, even small organizations will produce hundreds of thousands of events in a day. So that's not possible for a human to look through. Well, you know who can look through all of that data? Artificial intelligence. And they're able to pick up on breadcrumbs that humans can't. So you can actually pair artificial intelligence with the humans in your SOC to do something really special. The artificial intelligence is looking for unique potential problems, and it's presenting it to the humans in your SOC who are going to look at that and go, wow, we do have a problem here. We need to shut stuff down. We need to, remediate. And then they have a whole playbook on how they do that. So there's a way that they orchestrate what should happen next.
How did we do this before AI?
There really wasn't a way before AI. So what it really was there was somebody tripped something big enough that then, people, they're called threat hunters, would go in there and look at the logs and determine, okay, we know this device is compromised. What else could be compromised in the environment, and what do we need to shut down in a hurry in order to prevent further exploitation of the environment? So they were responding to what was already a problem. Oftentimes they were making it so it would become a bigger problem, which is what you want. You don't want somebody in your environment for 2 weeks if they can do a whole lot less damage in 1 hour than in 2 weeks usually. So it's one of those things where you're trying to mitigate that. And that was what before AI. Now with AI, you have the best of both worlds. You have something that's going through all of that raw data all the time. And now you have a human who can then really go false positive or real positive for a threat.
And you're seeing it sooner, presumably.
You are seeing it sooner, and it's making it harder for hackers to not trip something up because the AI is learning along the way and is responding to new threats that are out in the landscape and pivoting much faster than humans can do that.
All right. Now, you just mentioned it. The other side, the hurt side, is that hackers are using AI.
They are. That's probably one of the things that With every good tool out there that we've ever created, somehow it's always used for something bad, and artificial intelligence is no exception. And you can even use ChatGPT to create malicious code. You can use other AI platforms to do the same thing. This isn't about any one AI platform, and some are a little bit looser about the rules around some of this stuff, but because you have to have a way to train people who are looking for threats, hackers can effectively use that same tool to help automate and make their lives more efficient, and even kind of train up new hackers. There's a whole list of reasons why it can be used for bad, even though it can be used for good. And that's one of those things where you're really trying to balance those two things out. Obviously, the big companies out there that are doing artificial intelligence, they're not wanting their tool used for bad. That's not the press they want.
Right.
But it's hard to police without putting restrictions then on what it's being used for in the good too. So you have this kind of, dual purpose, which it's a cat and mouse game out there with artificial intelligence.
Yeah. And if you're like me, for example, and you're not the expert on how to manage that, now you really need one.
Right.
Yeah. Let's go back to the good side for a second. A way AI is helping your business is helping to identify malicious emails. This is the portal for a lot of activity that's not good, right?
Yeah, it effectively about 70% of compromises into environments is through a business email compromise. And business email is kind of the portal, as you just said, into everything that an organization is doing. This could be, the typical scams of, hey, can you wire money to somewhere else? That's an all too common one where, the people in accounting and in the finance departments of organizations are being preyed upon to make a mistake and think that they're helping their CEO or, the leaders within the organization to do something in an expedited fashion. And that's just one example. But on the other example, there's the, click this link so we can install something kind of thing. And artificial intelligence can be the key to help identify those. So users with training can become more savvy, but there's always a continuum of the end users that are, being put in front of them. Somebody who's really trained, somebody in cybersecurity, most of the time will be able to sniff it out on their own.
Yeah.
But even the best people, there's some really good targeted phishing campaigns that are out there that are trying to get people to click these links and install malicious items. And with those malicious links come all the ways into your environment and into your network. If you have artificial intelligence scanning your emails ahead of time, it's able to actually sniff out, hey, wait a second, the link doesn't match, the company doesn't match. It's doing all the hard work so that your users are your last line of defense, not your only line of defense against business email compromise.
So the employee never sees that email.
Right. And then they never have the opportunity to click that link and to be able to do that. So there were tools before artificial intelligence that helped, but they were nowhere near as good as artificial intelligence looking for the same things that security experts look for when they're looking to see if an email is malicious or not.
So interesting you described it the way you did, because it happened to me just before we started recording. Something came in that was supposed to be a warning about a quarantined email, but when I looked at where it came from, it had nothing to do with where it said it was coming from. So I think I'm a little trained in this way, but boy, AI would probably have diverted that from me completely.
And that's really the benefit. Artificial intelligence is the models that are being used for it. It's able to kind of look through those emails. It's able to view the images. It's able to read the text and use the same kinds of parameters we do to determine, hey, wait a second, something seems fishy about this. We better have it quarantined. And then somebody can look at it later and determine, is this really a problem or not?
Yeah. Well, sounds really helpful. On the other side, AI can lead to potential leaks of intellectual property.
That's one of the things. A lot of organizations are starting to implement artificial intelligence as a way to become more efficient, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But in the effort to do so, they're attaching artificial intelligence oftentimes to their productivity suites. So a great example is Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Copilot. Not picking on them by any means. They have great tools, and we use them here at AE Tech. But you have this great platform for productivity with Outlook and Word and Excel and all that. And you have Copilot, which is supposed to make you more efficient as an organization. Instead of sitting there formatting, Excel sheets and creating all the formulas, you can just tell Copilot to do it for you. Seems great. And it really is, right up until the point that you don't have policies in place that are protecting that sensitive intellectual property. Because all of the stuff that you put in has the potential to be used in the models that they're using to make artificial intelligence more intelligent.
Yes.
And you have the unfortunate side effect of potentially leaking intellectual property, stuff that you've worked hard to do to train up their next model, which then gives it out to the whole world to use as well. So it's like taking your hard work and handing it over to all of your competitors because it's out there now.
Yeah.
And so you have to have the policies in place that kind of put up the walls around that data so that it's not getting leaked out in there. And there's all sorts of examples that people can look up about this already. And so you want to protect that kind of sensitive intellectual property or other sensitive data. And there's all different types that we could talk about to make sure that artificial intelligence isn't the source of your data leak. Hackers have historically been the source of data leaks, but there's a new source, and that is artificial intelligence on the flip side.
Wow. That's a little bit scary, or a lot scary.
It really is.
I want to make sure I understand that. So you create, this is a very rudimentary example, right? But you create a spreadsheet using Copilot. You populate it with your data, and it has the potential then to go back to Copilot, and somebody else at another company can actually see your spreadsheet as an example.
Yeah, it may not be quite that specific, so they're not going to see your exact spreadsheet, but that data that's within that spreadsheet does get kind of recycled back into the model.
Okay.
This is a great example of why a lot of organizations that produce content, for example, are opting out of being used in the modeling of artificial intelligence, because all of their hard work. So there's news organizations, YouTube has pulled out of certain things. All of these types of Meta for Facebook and Instagram are pulling out because they're realizing the content that makes their site unique and brings, the users and therefore the ad revenue in is going back out into the model, and then that's being used. So there are examples of very specific details being leaked with AI, but a lot of times it's really more the concepts, because those concepts around, like a spreadsheet, the information in there is going to somehow be utilized again if the proper protections aren't put in place.
Okay. And this is something you discuss with your clients, I presume.
Yeah, we absolutely do, because we have people that are curious about using artificial intelligence.
Sure.
And there's some reasons why an organization should look at it. It definitely can bring some efficiencies, and it can definitely improve some of the quality of work output. But with that is some dangers. So,
all right, back to one of the ways AI can help. It helps efficiency.
It does help efficiency, as we were just talking about. One of the things that we want to really concentrate on is the fact that it takes some of the heavy burden, time-consuming tasks, writing documents and memos, writing emails, and you can just give it an outline of things. For example, you can tell any of the artificial intelligence language models, hey, write me an email about these 3 bullet points. And the better aspect is it'll write it, and you're like, well, that's pretty close, but now tweak it this way. So, for example, make it friendlier. Make it more professional, add this content to it. And you can do the iterative updates like you would do with a staff person. but it's not a staff person that you're paying to do that with. And it's doing it faster and easier in many ways than anybody else could. You can ask it to analyze things. So, we've always used computers to do analytical work, but it's still a human that's doing the analysis.
Yes.
Artificial intelligence is the first time where you can hand over data of different types and say, analyze this for me. And it will actually do the analytical work and give you some findings about it. In the past, it was either pre-programmed where you were telling if this, then this.
Yes.
That's not the case anymore. You're just giving it raw data. You're not giving it a whole lot of parameters necessarily, and it's spitting stuff back out with that. So Copilot can do that heavy lifting. This is great for small businesses and small organizations. This is great for larger organizations. There's use cases all over the place. I know I use it on a regular basis to help me with all sorts of tasks because it's lifting a load.
Absolutely. And that's what we're talking about that's so helpful. On the other side of that, one of the ways AI could be a hindrance is that it is reducing creativity, isn't it?
It is. One of the side effects is, you'll see this on websites, for example, or you'll see this on content coming from people. You can now kind of even feel the artificial intelligence created content.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost too polished. It's almost too perfect. It's got its own style to it that is kind of reducing people from using their originality, their individuality as a individual person or as an organization. And so over-reliance on it can be a real problem. And it's something that search engines, for example, are struggling with, and they're finding ways around because they're not going to prioritize non-original content, which is all the stuff that's coming from artificial intelligence.
Sure.
So they're having a way to they're creating models to kind of counteract that, to find original content. Because that's what this is all about. There's this huge swath of information out there now on the internet. And the only way to really figure out how to prioritize those search results is to find the stuff that is unique and original. I'm sure we saw this even before artificial intelligence, but it's coming more common out. You click something, you go to the next thing on the list, and you click that, and you're like, that's the exact same thing. But these are two distinctly different websites. It's recycled information.
Yes.
And so if you over-rely on artificial intelligence, you actually are going to deprioritize that, and you're not being original and creative, which is what people are looking for out there. They're wanting to know that your organization is doing things the human way, and not just the artificial intelligence way.
It reminds me of way back in school when we could have used a calculator to do our times tables, but we were encouraged not to.
Right.
You're developing your own creativity, your own mind, your own intelligence. And if you're using AI, you may not be doing that. Imagine that.
Right. And so, I think that's something that organizations need to give some guidance and parameters to their staff around. Here's some examples of things that you can do that will help efficiency, but don't hurt creativity. On the flip side, here are some things that you should be doing more by hand, maybe using artificial intelligence to help polish it, maybe. But even that you have to be kind of cautious about because you may be stripping that originality out of your content.
All right. So if this has your mind spinning about maybe how to use AI to monitor your IT environment or create policies therein, Roger and his team at AE Tech Design can help and help you think that through and arrive at a policy or an approach that makes sense for you and takes security into mind as well. So Little Blinking Light Podcast is right here, and we invite you to subscribe to that and click through for more of our episodes. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.